there, I'm sure that now we have a clearer picture about what it means to have quality teaching and learning materials. So we have heard from Mr. Graham regarding CEFR, we have heard from Ms. Emily regarding quality teaching materials. Now we would like to have a short fireside chat to talk a little bit more about how to apply these things into our kindergarten's curriculum. So I will need to invite various experts that had successfully done so in their own kindergarten for this topic. So please help me to invite first and foremost Ms. Phyllis Tsang from Cambridge University Press, the Senior Manager for Hong Kong and Macau. And we also have Ms. Jenny Wong, the Center Exam Manager for GPEX Malaysia. We have Ms. Alivia Lua, the Chief Innovation Officer for Tentos Academy. And lastly, we have Mr. Devin Joseph Unwin from Tsin Village, Ho Tong Kindergarten in Hong Kong. So please help me to welcome our 4 panelists here today to our conversation. So today we really had a very interesting topic here, and I think it's very relatable to a lot of preschools and a lot of teachers, kindergarten principals, etc., as they are planning for 2022. You know, and we had a chance to talk about CEFR, we had a chance to talk about quality teaching and learning material. And right now we want to talk a little bit on how to really integrate that into our current curriculum. So maybe I would like to check with Ms. Alivia, because you are the Chief Curriculum Innovation team in your own kindergarten. So as a curriculum designer yourself, could you share some of your insights when it comes to designing a local English language curriculum?
Okay, can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Jason. Actually, for that, like to achieve for academic achievement or whatever life skills for the young learners, I think one of the very important aspect is one word, joyful. So always to produce like joyous genius, and also from the joyful teachers to kids and to parents, when it's helping me to look into it when I'm designing for the curriculum. Also, we have a team that like to work together to go through for teachers holistic health and a children holistic child. So I will not talk much about that today, and I will go into the curriculum philosophy, because in Tentos we always believe that learning is for life, not for school. Yeah, it's actually they are interrelated and could not be separated for that. As we learning for the second language for different purposes, but no matter how, when we want to mastering a language, I think that is because we hope that we can use this language in our daily conversation. Yeah. Okay, so I think for the language learning or teaching should be down to earth, which is should be like practically and really integrated into their life. Mm-hmm. And so like some of the interactive activities in the classroom, and also when we learn the language to move beyond the 4 walls of the classroom is very important. That's why we have a task-based activities curriculum implemented in the Tentos. It's actually this task-based we have integrate into language learning. They will have like tasks, weekly tasks for children to bring their whatever language, the English curriculum or the topic they learn in the classroom. Then they have a small task they can bring back to their home to implement it and to do it together with their family. Yeah. Yeah. Then they will share with us, the children will share with the teachers when they come back to school. So actually, after we implementing these task-based activities, this actually makes our kids more confident. And also they have a better, we have a better connection between 3 parties, which is the kids, teachers, and parents. And the parents always know that what's going on with the kids in school when they're learning the language. And also for my opinion, when design for the curriculum, we must know well about the target learner instead of our own perspective. And we want them, like what Emily mentioned just now is actually very good. We want them to become an autonomy learners instead of spoon-fed. That's why we have to know our target learner very well when we designing for the curriculum. And one of the basic consideration when design curriculum, I think is yes, age appropriated, with mentioned by Emily just now, and also aim to arouse the learner's interest in learning also. Of course, we always can take some of the last century philosophy or education philosopher theory for our reference. But we have to bear in mind that for our young learner nowadays, especially the kids now, they are in we so-called alpha generation. Last time we are like X generation, Y generation, Z generation. And children born from 2010 onwards, until now, we are calling them as alpha generation. So it's another stage. That's why their opinion is, and their thinking is very different from us. And they were starting to ask, why I have to study? Why I have to go to school? So yeah, and also they will be the future decision makers when most of the repeating words will be replaced by a robot. So they must have a strong decision making and a creative mind. Therefore, like we will have like some life education to teach them how to be loving, caring, helpful, facing challenges, release tension, emotion, and cultivate growth mindset. I think is also very important. You can say that it's nothing related with English learning apart from this, but I think it's actually important and related to any language learning. And also, we cannot escape to like cultivate their 21st century soft skills. And because why I also say that we have to look into the perspective of our target learner is because that if we keep ourselves in the last century theories, because our alpha generation, they won't go back to the last century. They will have to move forward to the future challenge. Yeah. Therefore, I and my team member, when we're brainstorming for the curriculum innovation, we always remind ourselves always to be like empty cup mentality. So we can like input the new elements to the curriculum. So for now, I think that learning for life, student-centered, holistic education, like emotion development, problem solving, healthy social skills, critical thinkings, and all these are very important to take into consideration when we are designing for the English language teaching. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Alivia. And I believe that, all the pointers that you have mentioned would be very helpful to our audience, as they begin to sort of venture into curriculum designing themselves, or even as a teacher, I believe, at the everyday teaching and learning, when they have some of these pointers that you have mentioned and earlier Emily mentioned, they would do very well and go very far with their learners as well. Yeah. So today in particular, we talked about CEFR. And I believe that Devin and also Alivia, both of your preschools have sort of implemented and integrated CEFR into your curriculum. So I do want to probably check with Devin first. What sort of improvements did you see in your teachers and also in your learners after integrating CEFR into your curriculum?
Hi, Jaden. No, Jason. Sorry. I'll answer about teachers first from my own experience. What the CEFR offers is a really nice, succinct framework, like a skeleton. It's also a very good evaluational tool because it's so real world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the same time, there's the idea of teaching towards the test in language teaching, and it's often viewed quite negatively, like someone's come up with the test and now we just need to follow it and teach towards that. But I think that's a misunderstanding, and it needn't always be a problem teaching to the test. And the CEFR can help with this a lot because it gives us an assessment tool, an evaluation tool, which is very real world, which is very transparent for us teachers. it means that it makes selecting materials, selecting content for our courses that much easier. Having said that, I don't think it's something that needs to be too restrictive. And like Olivia was mentioning, we always need to keep it student-centered. So in terms of the learners, I think what it does is it makes it a lot more transparent for them. I mean, it's kind of coded into the language, can-do statements, you know what I mean? Can you do it? And it also speaks to something Emily and Olivia were both mentioning, is the idea of learner autonomy. I can't do it for you. You know, this is something you have to do. Can you do it? You need to take responsibility here, which is the first step towards building more autonomy into younger learners. They have to understand that it's something that they are responsible for, they have to do in order to go and do it. So I definitely think it's fundamental for that, for instilling a sense of responsibility and ownership over the language and language learning and helping promote learner autonomy. Yeah, I mean, at least that's what I've seen with my students, you know what I mean? It's kind of, last point, it breaks the skills down very nicely and makes it even more transparent, you know what I mean? So learners get the sense of, okay, language it's a multifaceted thing, and you might not be good at something, you might not be great at the pronunciation, but you might have really good listening skills. And we're all, again, kind of making it more student-centered. We're all different. We all prefer, you know, different ways of learning. And the CEFR, I think, is a narrative device which can help in the classroom for that too.
Thanks, Devin. And I think that helps a lot, especially with our participants here. You know, to sort of bring it home, CEFR has been implemented in our national curriculum, and a lot of kindergartens, preschools are really finding ways to integrate that into their own curriculum. So what you have shared really give them I would think, the practical sort of skills. I mean, the practical vision on how CEFR can positively affect their learning. And Alivia, let me hear from you as well. You know, how do you find your teachers and your learners improve after using the CEFR?
Okay, with the CEFR implementation in Tento's preschool, although when we start for this CEFR curriculum is also the pandemic time during these 2 years. And we like on and off from physical classroom to online classroom. But luckily, the content for the CUP and all the help from GPEX and us make smooth in all this CEFR learning journey for our kids. And also like the integration in speaking, listening, reading, and writing, and actually is very is a good and is a complete framework for us to assess and children also, like, they can concentrate and focus more in every aspect, like when they have to speak, although this is a second language, for listen, although this is a second language, maybe like firstly when they start to listen to the audio, they will feel that like difficult, but when we gone through with like fun activities, and actually they can like slowly pick up and also increase their concentration in listening, rather than, because last time when our kids learning for English, especially much more in reading flashcard, vocabulary, spelling, and also like maybe just memorize and writing. But with this framework, actually they are more, balanced in all these skills, and help them. They have more, confident to have the English conversation with their friends and the teachers. Yeah, I think this is quite good, and also not only improve in children. I think for teachers, because teachers need to always like upgrade and improve themselves. So with this framework, actually they are trying more method to break through their bottleneck to for the teaching, because they run out of idea and don't know how to conduct the interactive teaching in the classroom. So actually this helped them a lot Also, some of the professional teachers training, such as selfie and product training, also like increasing teachers' professionality.
All right, thank you, Alivia. Now, GPEX has initiated the Beacon Kindergarten project with several kindergarten partners over the past years. So part of the collaboration include integrating Cambridge University Press materials, which are CEFR aligned, as we have mentioned earlier, and also the Cambridge Pre-A1 Starters Assessment. So maybe I could check with Jenny. Could you elaborate a little bit more on how we can use this sort of assessment as a measurable outcome for our young learners in their learning journeys?
Right, yes, sure, Jason. Thank you for your question. Well, GPEX initiated the Beacon Kindergarten project in year 2018 to create effective, fun, and engaging English language learning in preschools. So through this project, kindergartens integrated the Cambridge University Press materials into their curriculum. And at the end of the preschool years, which is at the age of 6 years old, students will take the Cambridge English Pre-A1 Starters as a year-end assessment to prove their learning outcome, ultimately proving their skills to the world with Cambridge certification. So despite many might believe that it is probably too early for a 6 years old to take the Cambridge English qualifications, our Beacon Kindergarten project partners they've proven otherwise. So with the integration of Cambridge University Press materials in the curriculum, students will be learning in context, and contents covered are very relatable to their everyday life. So this will give them the exposure to actually use the language. So in my opinion, an assessment, it should be valid, reliable, and meaningful in order to measure the learning outcome. So it is very important for students to be able to apply what they have learned, and we can measure this learning outcome with a good assessment. So Pre-A1 Starters Assessment here is built and designed with different tasks that accompany each learning topic. So testing on students' 4 core skills acquisition in English language learning. So mainly listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So besides using the assessment to prove the learning outcome, this certification will also help students to build their confidence as they progress to the next level of English language learning. So with the results obtained through this assessment, schools, teachers, we can all review, our teaching styles, review our materials to adapt and to fit the learner's needs.
Yeah.
So and last but not least, just to share with all of you, young learners generally thrilled to take the assessment, and most of them, they don't even know this is a formal assessment. Right.
Thanks, Jenny. I've been hearing a lot since the beginning of the webinar, where we always focus on the learner's need, and I think that everyone is on the same page at that. In the futures to come, the learner's need comes first, their interest, and we are doing everything that we can to ensure that. So today also, we are very fortunate to have Phyllis from CUP. And we know that CUP has always been an advocate for live competencies. We have heard that yesterday with Darren, we have heard that earlier with Emily. And maybe, Phyllis, you can talk to us a little bit more how the CUP materials sort of incorporate such life skills in their curriculum designs.
Certainly. I have some slides to show here to help me explaining. So let me just start this. Yeah, so we have heard about Darren yesterday talked about what competencies means, and the Cambridge Life Competencies framework. And we also heard about Emily talking about how we integrated the Cambridge Life Competencies framework into our materials at Cambridge. So let me just give you a bit more background information on this framework we have created. So the Cambridge Life Competency Framework is created in response to educators who have asked for a way to understand how life skills can be integrated into English language program. It supports learners at all stages of their learning journey, from pre-primary through to adults in education and at work. It maps out how learners' behavior typically found within each competency can change and develop as the learners encounter new situations and circumstances in their life, both within and beyond the classroom. So the framework looks at 20 competencies in 6 areas and throughout 5 stages of the learning journey. And we have can-do statements under each competencies to define what the skills are. So let me just take an example. With the collaborations area, we have a competency, listening respectively and responding constructively to others' contribution. So what does it mean? At pre-primary stage, we can expect the child to allow others to finish speaking before sharing their own ideas. They can extend and elaborate their play ideas, such as building up a role play with other children. And when the child is moving to primary stage, we could expect more from the child. So he or she may be able, will be able to focus on the content of a group talk from start to finish, to interrupt politely, perhaps when he or she has a concern to raise, and to respond positively to what the others have to say and about that. So I have here an examples of life skills taken out from Kids Box. And under the competencies is underneath the social responsibility area. So the competency says understanding personal responsibilities such as part of a group in a society. And we have a list of can-do statements defining it, such as learning to care for animals and plants, how to use recycling, etc., etc. So what does it look like? Our materials look like? Well, on the left, you can see a page taken up from Kids Box. It tells you how learning about and using recycling facilities in the school. We have also asked the children how they reuse these materials at home so they can relate it to their real life situation. In the middle here, there is a story about loving and taking care of the nature, such as picking up litters when they see in the environment. And on the right, there is an exercise to talk about how we should take care of animals. For example, feeding the fish, walking the dog. So there's loads of examples of how we integrate these into our materials, but I'm unable to go through them here one by one. So the best thing is to go to our website, the page of Cambridge Life Competencies Framework. You can see a web address here, cambridge.org/CLCF, to find out more about the framework. And we also have like resources such as the leaflets, and also some example exercises and some competencies videos there for you to understand better about this framework. I hope my sharing has given you some ideas if you want to, if you are interested in integrating this life competencies into curriculum.
Thank you, Phyllis. And I find that your sharing has been really helpful. You know, when I look at the page, you know, sometimes we might just think to just teach the vocabulary and teach the words in it, but there are just so much more that we can do with that. And your explanation really helps us to have a different perspective on how to teach our young learners. And thank you all so much. Thank you, panelists. That's all the time that we have for today. Unfortunately, we don't have much time to talk really in depth about this, but in case some of our participants, they might have questions or anything, you can feel free to chat in the chat box or through our Telegram channel, and we will try to answer as many of them as possible. All right, thank you, panelists.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks,
Jason.
Thanks, Olivia. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Devin.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Thanks.
See
Thanks.
you again. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.